do. Just kind of give, so we don't have to ask questions that you already know the answers to, just a 2-minute summary. Just the meat and potatoes.
That's our city attorney, and let me reiterate something that this council and this mayor, we didn't expect this either. The night of the election, we stayed up here until all the votes were counted, and we left here, what, 9:30 or 10 o'clock? And we didn't think it would happen, but it did happen. And so we are in uncharted waters. Now, I know people are going to get tired of me saying that, but I've lived here a long time, and I've never seen Cullman wet. So we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, because there's no wheel here. There's been no ordinance probably since the 40s. That's on the books, no laws. And my mother said, my mother's 91, and she said that the last time she remembered, she had a cousin that came home from World War II and came uptown and bought a quart of alcohol. So that must have been in the 40s sometime. And we can give you a whole list of the state rules. It's here.
A couple of examples are signage, you know, billboards, advertising in the windows.
That's us.
That's us, and that's one of the reasons we're here tonight. We want to listen to the public, but that would be an authority that the city council would have.
There's no state laws that have anything to do with that.
None. And then also there's an application process, which is the most important from the state. Thickness-wise, Roy, 30 pages for an application for the state.
FBI.
Yeah, it's got a FBI background.
It's not quite that long, but it's a fairly extensive questionnaire. They also have to meet certain requirements, and they have background checks. The city has to license them also before they can get a state license. So if we're going to, like if they're going to do zoning and things of that nature, then the city would have to approve the zone that they were in before the state would grant them the permission to sell them within that area or whatever. Each premises has to be licensed specifically. A person can't get a license and then just go sell anywhere in the community. They have to, it's specific to that particular square foot. It has to be defined specifically. It's fairly extensive application process.
There's a couple of more things that come to my mind when you talk about the state. Also, the state, you could be applying for a license, a legal license, through the city and through the state, and then the city say, no, we don't want this business. And then they could actually be approved by the state, and the city say no. So it's still up to this council. You see what I'm saying? They could be approved by the state, but then the council say, no, we're not going to give you a license. Another thing they told us that, for example, in your CVS, these type stores, grocery stores, or convenience stores, someone 21 years of age has to be on premises for alcohol to be sold in those places. And that's places of non-consumption. So if you had someone that worked a cash register that was 20 years old, they would have to be somebody there, age 21 or older, before they could sell those beverages. Is that not right?
That's correct. So that answer your question?
Mr. President, also the state, we can be more strict than the state law. We can't be less strict than the state law. So.
Renee Marchman. I live at 721B Trammell Drive. I've lived there for 47 years. My dad will turn 84 this coming Friday, and he said he never would thought he would live to see it go wet again. And he is glad it is. I'm glad it is. I have a grandchild. I've lost a child, but I also have a child. I think it's for the best of Cullman. It will bring in revenue. It will bring in ball tournaments more than what we already have, because ball players, you know, they want to go into their hotels, like he said before, have a beer and, you know, chill out. I think it's good for the city. It's a right way and a wrong way to run it. I think our city council has their heads on straight. They're looking forward at the right directions of what's right and what's wrong. I don't think you will let any time Joe or Mark come up and get licensed and apply. The state also has the ability for it. And I think, in my opinion, we elected y'all to represent us, and I think that y'all will represent us in a way that will still keep Cullman a nice place to live in.
Thank you, Ms. Marshall.
Thank
you. Please.
First of all, you mentioned revenue. Let's don't get our hopes too high on that. You know, how much can you drink in a day? I mean, really. Now, listen, and I traveled for 35 years. I was in pharmaceutical sales. When Decatur went wet 25 years ago, I'm estimating, they popped up everywhere. And you were taught in school there was something called economics, and it was called the law of supply and demand. Now, trust me, if the demand's not there, the supply will diminish. And so, but you can't look at one certain thing and say that that is going to be a panacea for this community. It may not solve all problems, but with this council, I can assure you that you couldn't get a finer council to be in office at this time that will do what's right. I'm gonna hush for a while.
Clint said the mayor has only 3 minutes too.
I get wound up.
Go ahead, Barrett.
My name is Barrett Richard. I live at 1707 Derby Drive. I only have a few ideas. One would be to limit the length of hours of a facility to sell alcohol. You know, I went to and attended Auburn, and I remember the real late nights, and that's really not what I would envision seeing in Cullman. You know, everybody has their own things, but I would like to see, you know, some type of hour set up. Maybe midnight's a good time, you know. I don't want it to be 9 o'clock because there's a lot of fun between 9 and 12, but, you know, I don't want it to be, you know, like 2 or 3 in the morning. We just don't need that, and I think, you know, once you get past 12, you could probably see an increase in some type of, you know, domestic incidents, accidents, or, you know, driving related accidents after that prolonged period of time where you're being. That's really what I want to say.
Hey, Barrett, are you talking about the convenience stores and restaurants, or the actual sales of the alcohol itself?
Actually, I'm more on the lines of where you can consume at that place.
Consume at that place. Okay.
Consume at that place.
Chief, could I say something again?
Yes, sir. 3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mr. President. A lot of times we have council meetings here, and sometimes we're out of here at 8 o'clock, and I go down 2nd Avenue, half the red lights in Cullman are blinking yellow. There's nobody out at night. I don't think we're going to have that problem. The people of Cullman have sense enough to know when it's time to go home, but there will be restriction on hours, that's for sure. They just don't need to be out that late. My 3 minutes up.
Just keep in mind there that we're open 24/7 up by the interstate. There's a lot going on there.
Mr. Johnson, we're also going to, we will take a look at that in our zoning also. You're going to be out at the interstate where that's going to be different than a downtown. And I'll say this, my opinion. I don't know about these other councilmen or mayor, but at the same point, I don't believe this community is ready to have a wide open bar or staying open till 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I went to Auburn also, and it's not like we want Barrett to have the supper club in our backyard, you know? And so it's something that I think that's my opinion, and I'll be trying to write that way, but that's something that I don't believe this community is ready for. Now, restaurants and all, we're going to have to regulate that in convenience stores and the sales of where these are, but again, that's my opinion. Oh, yeah. These are all the different zonings that in here. If you look at what's first on there? The B1, B2, and B3, that's in the businesses. That's where most of the activity of alcohol sales will happen as we go through this process. Rick Fulmer's here. If y'all have any questions, Rick, will you raise your hand for me tonight? He's in charge of the zoning and the planning for the city of Cullman, but also what we've looked at from other ordinances is that B1 and B2, well, actually B2 is where you are.